Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to another edition of Talmbout Rasslin right here on the Black Phoenix Network. I am your host, the untouchable J.R. Atkins, and this is your primary destination for wrestling conversation. First and foremost, before we get into the show, thanks again to everybody who's tuned in thus far, who's made it their weekly thing to tune into the Talking About Wrestling podcast, your primary destination for wrestling conversation. Thanks to everybody that's liked, shared, subscribed, left a comment, told a friend, told anybody. If you are here on the Black Fitness Network and you're watching Talking About Wrestling, thank you very much. If you tuned into any of my other content, as far as What's Up Wednesday articles or Manifesto Mondays when that's going on. Season 1 just ended a few weeks ago. Season 2 will be coming soon. We'll give some time. And there'll be something coming with the Manifesto Mondays pretty soon. Also, I'll probably start doing some more content. I actually just had a conversation about that with somebody. So there will be expanding the content as the followers increase. Sidebar, because I mentioned that eventually we're going to go live with these things, and I want to do some live podcasting. Several things that I just learned. You can only go live from the Substack app. Funny enough, can't do it from the website yet. And you have to have at least 10 followers or 10 subscribers, I guess. I crossed that threshold already, so I requested access, so we'll see where that goes. But I'm not sure how that's going to work with doing the app, because so far I'm using it on a computer, if you can't tell already. So we're going to see how that goes. So lives may have to wait a little while. But for the time being, we're going to do it this way. We're recording it, and we're posting it up. This episode is going to go live a little later than what typically happens with these episodes, because it was just I was bullshitting. Okay, I'm just gonna be real. I was bullshitting. Sorry. But we're here a little later on a Saturday. Today is WrestleDream Saturday. WrestleDream Saturday. And here we are, still in the studio. So if you've been paying attention, I told you that my intention was to go, that more than likely I was going to attend WrestleDream. And I did not. I didn't. Mainly because the weather looks like it's going to be a little tricky going towards St. Louis from Memphis, and I don't feel like driving through a storm and potential tornado, especially in St. Louis. So I have already ordered the pay-per-view on HBO Max. I will be posted in front of my television with my surround sound on. I'll order me some good food, have me some good drink, and watch this, what looks to be a really interesting pay-per-view this evening. And that being said, today's episode, there were some things that I wanted to talk about, perhaps, but I know how I get down when these things come up and how long these shows typically are. So today is going to be a prediction show. Booyah! I don't think I've done one of these in a while. That's just a prediction show. And I'm not doing all the graphics and everything because that takes a lot of time. But I'm going to be here giving it to you straight, no chase. All right, so you're going to get these AEW WrestleDream predictions popping. Maybe I'll do a graphic right here. See, I did that. Also, if you can't tell, we're playing with the setting. I told you this is all a work in progress. So there's some things that I'm kind of figuring out here. Change some cameras, change some settings. So I'm sure I'm a little bit more in your face. Probably a little bit brighter. You're probably getting all the details because we are live in 4K. All right, that was an L, not a K, but we're live in 4K. All right, and I don't know how different this was. If you like this, let me know. you want me to go back to the old setting, let me know. If I got like boogers in my nose and you can see them and that's like bothering you, just let me know. Just let me know. Work in progress. And I'm here for you, the wrestling people. I'm here for you, the wrestling fans. So today we are going to cover the WrestleDream predictions, my WrestleDream predictions. Um, Normally I wouldn't do this, but I'm going to cover the tailgate brawl too, which I guess is now what they're going to call the pre-shows instead of the buy-in, which I guess is cool. The buy-in had a more double or nothing feel, and they kind of went with that. I guess now we're sticking with the tailgate brawl. Cool either way. Which I think I'm assuming that has something to do with um maybe it's a Saturday thing rather than I don't know because they're doing another tailgate brawl, and the tailgate brawl airs actually on TNT and TBS and HBO Max as well. So I'm assuming that I don't know. Is that a Saturday thing? So because they won't have Collision, they're doing that instead, or would they work on Sundays? I'm not sure how that's going to work. However, normally I wouldn't cover that because that's just a pre-show. There's some pretty significant stuff on this one, which I guess there was last time too. So we'll see how that goes. Um, but as I mentioned before, I'll touch on this. There were some things that I wanted to discuss before, but it'll probably take up too much time, right? Um, the whole Andrade situation. Apparently, Andrade, uh, after debuting on Dynamite just a few weeks ago, has not been seen or heard from since. He won a title. It's some indie. I can't remember exactly which one it is. He won a title and then he disappeared, and that's apparently because WWE sent a cease and desist because this was a violation of his um, what we normally call the 90-day non-compete. But no one knew that he had a non-compete. And from what we're hearing about the way, or at least what I've run across, from the way the TKO contracts are set up, that it's actually more of like a year non-compete, which is crazy. 90 days was already crazy. But if we're going with a year, it is completely like whatever. That company more and more is just becoming furthermore another story. And I got to get details to see exactly what's going on here because apparently there's this story that like Triple H is getting more involved with the current presidential administration, which in itself is enough for me to stop supporting this company as much as I do. Again, whatever. Um, and then there's a lot of misconception because this is one of these things I think kind of certain bits and pieces got taken out of context and people have just kind of run with it. But the context has kind of been, or the joke or the memes or whatever, is that WWE is choosing, is going to basically use AI writers to write for WWE. Uh, there's definitely an AI aspect, whether it's, I'm not sure exactly the details of it, which is what I said I need to go back and actually figure out for myself. But there is something towards the effect of something about AI. I could probably pull it up, but I'm not going to waste that much time on it right now. So that's the thing, and that's going to be interesting. Have you ever look? I am an avid Chat GPT user, even though I know all the bad things that come from it, unfortunately. But I do use it. But have you ever tried to like get them to do something consistent? It doesn't work. That's why so much stuff with Chat GPT and most AI, there's always a tail because they don't do consistent. They can't. It can't produce consistent for real. Whatever. So we'll see how that goes. And if I saw something that was like, "Hey, Chat GPT, book AJ Styles' retirement run." Um, so that was that interesting. Um, Last time we talked, Crown Jewel hadn't happened yet. Uh, I guess some noteworthy things coming out of that show. Namely, I haven't seen it. Again, I went and watched the clips, so I haven't seen it. But AJ Styles versus John Cena was apparently a very great match. AJ came out in a very TNA esque uh, with his TNA gear, which is actually from a PWI cover that they were both on. I want to say probably back in 2000, wasn't 2002. Cena was already in his jorts era, so maybe it was more 2004, 5, or 6 ish, if I'm not mistaken. He had on the short blue and white tights. Came out with the phenomenal vest. As a matter of fact, let's see. It wasn't this look necessarily, but kinda. It was that vest definitely with the elbow pads. Let's see. There's no picture. There's no picture. All the stuff on here is all the older stuff. Well, that much I'm definitely going to try to. Would I even be able to put that in? Where's my? There we go. Okay, that's how I would do that. Okay, never mind. Not even gonna get into that again. That's what I'm talking about. See, if I get into it, it's all wasting time. He came out in the old TNA look. Um, Again, if you know me, if you heard me say that, I am a sucker for a callback. I am a sucker for a throwback or reference or Easter egg or anything like that. So it was interesting to see him come out in that look, but very strange to see him with this body, with that attire, because he's much bigger than he was then. There's chest hair, there's tattoos, facial hair, the long hair. He's a little, it looked a little strange. It was a little jarring. It was nostalgic from the space of like, oh, I see what he's doing here, but it didn't give you like, look, he just like he was. It wasn't the same. It was very different. And if you never did it again, I wouldn't. Thank you, but you don't have to do that anymore. Particularly because towards the end, he looked closer to what he looks like now. Um, and I think I've gotten so used to the facial hair and just that entire look that it's just a little strange. Once he switched to the long tights, it got weird to see it. Once he switched to the long tights, he's been that for so long that it's strange to see him. It's not strange to see him in the tights, the shorts, because if you look at the old stuff, it looks fine. It looks normal to me. But seeing him in shorts now, really strange. I told you once again I was gonna make a video eventually about attires, and I'm gonna do it one day. But who knows? And callback attires and stuff. Um, Cody lost to Seth Rollins for the Crown Jewel Championship, which whatever. Stephanie McCurry won the Women's Crown Jewel Championship. What has happened on this show? I don't even know. Yeah, again, I don't want to cover the whole thing, but Raw this week. Apparently, Seth Rollins is injured, and on Raw, he was kicked out of the Vision, which is his own group. So we'll see how that goes. There was supposed to be a match between Rollins and Punk. I think that's what they were kind of built to. Punk like the number one contender for the title at this Saturday night's main event. And I think it was supposed to be him and Rollins, so we'll see what happens there. Because Rollins probably going to have to relinquish the title, I would imagine, from what I've kind of been hearing. So we'll see what happens there. What else is there? Ilya Dragunov is back. Won the U.S. Championship from Sami Zayn last night on SmackDown. So that's nice that he came back for that. Meanwhile, Melo's nowhere. I want you to talk about, think about all the people we're talking about here. Melo, talking about Melo from NXT, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, Ilya Dragunov, Gunta, all these people, all from NXT, have been either championship adjacent or a champion. And Melo went from tagging with the Miz to feuding with the Miz, even though he was the number one draft pick from SmackDown. He's still just a floundering. So there's a lot of talk now. The scuttlebutt amongst the internet of things that could happen or should happen Would be bringing up like an Obafemi and a Trick Williams. They're definitely ready to come up. Trick has been ready, but bringing both of them up to the main roster. I try my best to not get into any politics here. And I won't necessarily do it, but I will say Triple H cozying up with this administration's misunderstanding and war against the concept or their interpretation of DEI and what's happening with Mello on the main roster right now. Whatever. Moving on. So again, a lot happening in WWE land. Not all of it is great. Some of it's good. We'll see where some of it goes. Again, I tried to give that company as little air as possible, at least until Bianca comes back. Especially because how can I not cover my boo? Even though I'm not gonna have like access to a lot of shows, but I'm gonna keep up with what she's doing for sure. Any merch I buy will probably be Bianca Belair merch, even though they greatly under merchandise her, even though she's easily one of the more profitable stars in the company. They decided to put that on Rhea for some reason, but that's again neither here nor there. If you give Bianca the merch, she could probably be a top merch seller. But then maybe not because now people are kind of turning. So we'll see. We'll see. They never capitalized on the concept of the quote unquote big three of Bianca, Naomi, and Jade. They barely did anything for them as a tag for Bianca and Jade as a tag team. The merch situation is a little for all the nonsense that they come up with merchandise wise, for them not to capitalize on those three women in the way that they could and should have is insane to me. But again, that's not what we're talking about. That's a whole different rant for a whole different day. Today we're here to talk about dreams. As a matter of fact, sidebar, this is something I said I'm gonna start doing, and I didn't do it because I got onto my rants already. We're like 15 plus minutes in, and I haven't reviewed anything. And it's something I want to start doing at the beginning of these shows. Shout out to the Jam Podcast if you haven't checked them out. 4 very cool young brothers. They don't talk wrestling. It's not about wrestling at all. But I want to give that shout out because what I'm about to do is somewhat taken from them. So they do a thing on their podcast called a fit check, where they basically just go over what they got on this particular episode. It's calling out your swag, right? So I'm not gonna call out my swag, but something that I have taken to doing with this show, and I want to make sure, and I don't know if anybody ever really pays attention to the fact that I do this, but one of the things that I made sure to do with this show is to make sure to show off my extensive wrestling shirt collection. So I make sure I wear a different shirt for every episode. And if it's not a wrestling shirt, then it's going to be a Black Phoenix branded shirt as well, either or. So rather than a fit check, we're going to do just my shirt of the week. What shirt am I rocking this week? This is going to be a little different once I probably get more people. Whatever. We're going to, again, work in progress. The podcast is growing, work in progress. So this week's shirt, speaking of dreams and speaking of WrestleDreams, remember the first 2 WrestleDreams, or at least the first WrestleDream, I don't know if both of them were. I actually think it was. But WrestleDream has been in Seattle the first 2 years, or at least, let's see. Why am I guessing? So yeah, the first WrestleDream was in Seattle, Washington. The second WrestleDream was in Tacoma, Washington. For some reason, Daniel Bryan is very prominent in both of those posters. Looking at it now, obviously. But he also was very prominent in both events. Not so much this one. Hence it being in St. Louis. But speaking of WrestleDreams from Seattle or Tacoma, Washington, the home of one Daniel Bryan, this week's shirt. And there's always a thing. It always kind of, I'm trying to make sure I go in thing. This week's shirt will stand up so you can check it out. Boom. Rocking the Daniel Bryan Fight for Your Dreams. That's his return shirt from WWE when he first came back from his career-ending injuries. Thought I would represent. Also representing with, it's not Bret Hart, baby. It's Breast Cancer Month. Save the boobies. Save the boobies. Very much a supporter of breast cancer research. Fuck cancer. Fuck it. Fuck it. Fuck cancer. Moving on. Anyway, so all that being said, we're going to finally, 20 minutes into the podcast, finally going to cover this year's WrestleDream, which will be taking place in just a few hours, actually. And I need to go run some errands after this so I can get in position to enjoy the show. So we're going to start with the tailgate brawl. I'm not sure about the order of the matches, but I kind of got an idea how this is going to go. Matter of fact, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Pretty sure what's going to open up is this 8-man tag with Roddy Strong and the Conglomeration, which will be Orange Cassidy, Kyle O'Reilly, and Tomohiro Ishii. And I guess they're doing the thing, and Roddy doesn't want to join the Conglomeration or whatever. Don't know where that's going, but sure it's going to go somewhere. Versus the Death Riders, which is basically everybody that's not Mox. Claudio, Wheeler Yuta, Daniel Garcia, and Pat / Pop. OC has kind of been rolling, right? Though he lost. Did he lose this week? Did they lose that match? Yeah, I think they lost that match. Money's on the Death Riders. It's just hard to bet against them. I could be wrong here, but smart money is always on the Death Riders in these kind of situations. Pac doesn't have any wins since he's been back, so they might give him this one, and that would be safe. So on Dynamite this week, Claudio beat Roddy, but Wheeler Yuta and Daniel Garcia beat Orange Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly. Is that what happened there? For some reason, I feel like Orange Cassidy and Kyle O'Reilly won that match, but I know I'm wrong if I say that. Now I have to look it up because I don't want to give you people wrong information, and it would influence my entire prediction. Yeah, so that happened. That was a thing. That was absolutely a thing. So, Death Riders actually swept the night on Dynamite. And all those people are, you know what? Going with the conglomeration. It's going to be the opening match. Orange Cassidy's music is going to be what kicks off the show. I'm more than almost certain of it. So we're going to start the show off on a high note, going with the conglomeration taking the dub. Orange Cassidy gets the win over Yuta from Colin. I very rarely call it that succinctly, but we'll see. Have Harley Cameron versus Willow Nightingale. Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale versus Megan Bain and Penelope Ford. And the name they gave them is Divine Vanity. Divine Vanity. I'm going to forget that again. But every time I talk about them, I'm like, what is the name that I saw for them wherever I saw it? Divine Vanity. They've never said that on TV, but for some reason in Wikipedia, that is a name. And I saw it somewhere else too. It wasn't just Wikipedia. Divine Vanity. Divine Vanity. Megan Bain and Penelope Ford. Um, ah, let me see something. Let me see something because can they afford to give Megan Bain a tag team loss here? I think so. I think you do it. I think you do it. So I want to get into Harley and Willow. I'm probably gonna be wrong about that one. I want to give that one to Harley and Willow. Um, Willow probably pins Penelope. It's either gonna go one. The bigger person on the team is gonna get the win in whichever way that goes. So they're gonna be Willow pinning Penelope or Megan pinning Harley. I don't think it's gonna be Willow and Megan. But my pick is going to be I'm sticking in Harley Cameron and Willow Nightingale will win this match against. I'm going babyface heavy here. Mm. You know what? Nope. Nope. Switching it. Divine Vanity. Going Divine Vanity here. The way I'm balancing out this show. Is that a thing? What was that? And the reason I say that is the next match on that is going to be Eddie Kingston and Hook versus a team to be announced. Whoever that is, the winner is going to be Eddie Kingston and Hook because whatever they're doing, they're starting their march to the tag team through the tag team ranks. So this is going to be just a good exhibition for them to start building up some tag team wins. I think of these 4 matches, I think we're going to go 2-2. But on the heel face perspective there. So, yeah. So the baby faces are winning. If I'm picking the baby faces for the conglomeration, winning, and Eddie Kingston and Hook winning, I'm gonna say Megan Bain and Penelope win their match, and the main event I'm certain of this will be FTR versus Jet Speed. You know, this being on a pre-show, you would think, in the way this entire feud has played out, you would think it would be, you know what? I'm usually pretty good with the predictions. And all these matches feel so inconsequential, typically, generally, that's kind of what's influencing my decision making here. But I'm gonna go out on a limb. Jet Speed for the win. Boom. Call it. Upset victory. Jet Speed wins. FTR will get it back at some point. But because there's like no real consequences here, definitely think this is gonna be Jet Speed with the dub. Calling it. Calling it. All right. Now let's move on to the main show. I'm going to try to figure out what the order here might be, but I'm not entirely sure. So we're just gonna kind of pick and choose as we go. What they've been doing lately, well, not lately, but they've done this a few times, is they always try to open with something really strong. If there's somebody really strong on the show, whether it be like a Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay, sometimes maybe like they. One thing you can count on AEW is they need the first music you hear is somebody that's gonna pop the crowd, one way or the other. Usually, if there's a heel hot enough that's gonna make them boo, or like a Don Callis or something, or if there's a babyface that's gonna make them pop. A lot of times, that's especially on these Dynamites or other shows, it's been like a Tony Storm. So I'm gonna say maybe Tony Storm and Stat will open. Even this is a strange show format wise. Unless they want to go with Mercedes. Okay, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm not even gonna try to figure that out. I'm gonna go for the bottom up. And I'll mention it as we get to it. So first and foremost, it was announced, I think last night, maybe somewhere, that after she matter of fact, I'm sure it had to have been last night because it had to be after her match at CMLL, because you wouldn't announce this unless she won that match. So it makes sense. She won her match at CMLL and announced that she's going to do an open challenge tonight at WrestleDream. She has officially broken Jade's record as the longest reigning TBS champion in WWE, and I think it was important to get her on the show, so that they can acknowledge that tonight, because they've acknowledged it on social media, but they have to acknowledge it on TV, obviously. And I think tonight would be a good night to do that. Under typical wrestling convention, which usually means WWE convention, once somebody crosses the threshold of the title record, they drop the title. It was a thing with Athena and the ROH Women's Championship, and she still is. But I was like, oh, well, once she crosses the 1,000 days or whatever, then they'll be ready to drop it because they have to get to the milestone. Again, very WWE logic about it. Same thing with Roman with his title reign. Oh, we got to get to the Hogan record, then he'll drop it. Oh, we got to get to this record, that record, whatever. AEW tends to go one, you know. I don't know if they're big, because see, with WWE, it's a pettiness thing sometimes. They're like, oh, we got to get you past this point so we erase your record. It was CM Punk for a long time that had like this longest reign of a modern era or whatever it was. And of course, Roman blew it out of the water. So we're going to see how that goes. But I don't know who exists on the end, who's available that could show up and beat Mercedes and really be somebody that is going to make an impact. A lot of people say maybe Dakota Kai, because they were saying Dakota Kai for Homecoming a couple weeks ago. So maybe it could be Dakota Kai here. But I still think Mercedes wins. I don't think this is the night. Because again, once you do that, you have to put, it's just like with Jade. Like when Jade was the champion and had been for so long, up to obviously the amount of time that like Mercedes has been now, the only person that made sense was a returning Stat who took her to the limit before and came in House of Fire and beat her. I don't know if they have anybody like that. So we'll see. We'll see. But I think Mercedes takes that regardless. So put my money on Mercedes regardless of who it is. And if we're gonna go prop bet, I would say Dakota Kai. I don't know who else it could be, unless they want to do the Izzy thing that we talked about before. I don't know if we talked about it here, but it has been talked about that it could be Izzy. I think those people that people were predicting for Florida at Homecoming, I think are on the table now, and I think either of them will be a good shout. Because it has to be somebody that's gonna pop the crowd. So I think that's gonna be that. But my money's on Mercedes regardless of whoever it is. Next, we have Hurt Syndicate versus The Demand, Part 3 ish. Maybe I guess you call it the rubber match. I watched Ups and Downs with Simon Miller regarding Dynamite / Collision this week, and one of his things was, feels like we kind of did this out of order. And it does. We had the regular match where The Demand won, the regular 6-man at All Out that The Demand won. At Homecoming, we had 6-man street fight, which the Hurt Syndicate won. And I thought that was over. I said last week, I think it's over. I think that we're moving on. I don't know what we're going to do, but I think we're moving on. But no, we're going to do it one more time. So on Dynamite this week, GOA handed Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley their first pinfall loss in AEW. Big move. Big. That's big. It's been said that Hurt Syndicate, really likes Gates of Agony, really likes working with the Demand. It shows. It shows because they put them over actually quite a bit. So now we're doing a Tornado Trios match, which doesn't look much different than the street fight because I'm pretty sure they're going to use weapons. Maybe not as many. So maybe the focus won't be on the weapons as much as just like the action kind of being everywhere. Maybe so it's like Street Fight Light, I guess. I don't know. It just feels out of order. It feels like you should have done Tornado and ended on the street fight. I don't know. Or something, or some other kind of stipulation. I'm not really sure. But with where they are, and with GOA getting that win on Dynamite, I'm going to give this one to Hurt Syndicate again to end the feud, because I think this has to end the feud, right? No. Now, on the other hand, the argument could be made for Ricochet to be Hangman's next challenger, though that doesn't make sense. I don't know. I guess it could be. I guess I guess that could be made. The case could be made there. So I'm going to go Hurt Syndicate for the win here. It feels like a bit of a no-brainer. After everything that's got to happen. Next up, we have kind of an interesting match for this show, especially considering Jamie Hayter versus Tekla. It's a feud that's been brewing for a while. Tekla made her debut, of course, and took out Hayter. She was injured, but they wrote her off for her injury. Hayter's back, and of course they are gearing up towards Blood and Guts in a few weeks, actually, which they haven't said anything about, but we're gearing up for Blood and Guts in a few weeks. So that's interesting. Go figure. And why this match is on the main card, I guess is my question, but it's not a bad thing. Listen, this may be one of the first, and I mean this without counting the pre-show. This may be one of the first times for all you people who complain about AEW's women's division, the first time that they have 3 separate women's matches, one-on-one matches, on the main card. I don't know if there's another time. I don't know if there's another one. So if that's your thing, you got it this time. Because I personally found it strange that FTR and Jet Speed was on the pre-show, and this match is here. And like I said, and we already have Mercedes having a match and the women's championship match that we'll get to later. But I'm giving this to Tekla because she's getting pushed to the moon. Hayter's on a roll of sorts. She's in the groove. I think Tekla's getting pushed. And has she been like pinned yet? I don't think so. And I think this continues. I think this is part of Tekla's push, so I'm giving this one to Tekla. Hayter's, of course, already taking some L. I don't think Tekla has, and I don't know if Hayter will give her first here tonight. Considering this is the feud, technically, that I guess she was no pun intended. Tekla, okay, whatever. I'm pretty sure this is the feud she was supposed to have coming in. So now that they're getting to it, we'll see what happens with it. I'm giving it to Tekla though. Next up is the tag team match for the tag team titles. Rodito, your AEW World Tag Team Champions, will be taking on Kazuchika Okada the AEW Unified Champion, and Konosuke Takeshita, your new IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. That happened since last week. It's Brodito. They're not going to lose the title. This will come down to infighting between Takeshita and Okada, which kind of sucks because both of them are. I don't know if Okada's been pinned since he's been in that. I'm sure maybe he has, but I don't know. If it has been, it hadn't been many times. Okada has not been pinned much, if at all, in AEW. Takeshita can take the pin, though that would kind of suck because he just won the IWGP Championship, so I'm not sure. But Brodito will pull this out and remain your AEW World Tag Team Champions. It looks like we are definitely gearing up towards Okada and Takeshita. It is clear as day. And the only thing that is left to question is when and where. I have heard this said, and I agree, and I hope so, that this match takes place in the Tokyo Dome. If AEW is doing Wrestle Dynasty around the time that they do Wrestle Kingdom, I think that match at, I'm not sure which one is first anymore. But that match at like Wrestle Dynasty or even Wrestle Kingdom, probably be more Wrestle. I'm not sure which one. Probably Wrestle Dynasty because that's the AEW pay-per-view. But if you're gonna have that match title for title, I think you can do it at either one. But because they're both AEW signed talent, maybe that makes sense to do it more in Wrestle Dynasty. But that being said, I think that's the place to do it, in the Tokyo Dome at one of those two shows. Anywhere else, I feel like you wasted. And I think the reason there is, even though I would hate to kind of do this, it feels like a bit of a rehash, but Okada, that would mean Okada wins the C2 again, keeps the title, and goes on to either defend it or lose it at the Tokyo Dome. So it's a lot of things moving in play. We haven't gotten to a. They're still teasing the split. They clearly don't like each other. Don Callis is acting like that's not a thing. So we're teasing the breakup. The they don't like each other, and everybody sees it. That's very obvious. The thing is Don Callis pretending that that's not a thing. So what we're waiting on is not so much the breakup, or not so much the tension, but more the the straw and they broke the camel's back is what we're waiting on here. Where I think Takeshita leaves Don Callis' family, and I would actually have him beat Okada. I think that would be the move for your future, because Takeshita is a main eventer for years to come. So I do think that's the move that you want to make going forward. Moving on. For the TNT Championship, we got Kyle Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe 5. I don't think Kyle Fletcher is in any danger of losing the TNT title anytime soon. The only reason that there's a chance that Mark Briscoe could take the title from him tonight is because Mark Briscoe has also been on a bit of a momentum swing of his own. But not necessarily either. Like, he beat MJF, and he really hadn't done nothing afterwards. Like, this match is coming up, but it hadn't really been built all that much, I don't think. It's just that they've faced each other 5 times already, or other times rather. And I guess this is like the rubber match or something, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's 2-2, maybe. Kyle, though, after losing to Hangman at All Out, Kyle is on a quest to prove himself as TNT champion. And in doing so, I don't see him losing it anytime soon because he's not in a place to do anything else just yet. So you have to keep him here. You have to have him build that up, build that title up, make it mean something, make his reign mean something, and make that loss to Hangman mean more as well. So I don't see him losing here for those very reasons. Kyle Fletcher for the dub. Again, a bit of a, I don't want to say it's a no-brainer, like I said, because Mark Briscoe does have that momentum, but he hadn't really done anything with it. He beat MJF, like I said, he hadn't done anything really else since then, leading up to this match. He cut a few promos here and there, a few tag matches, but that's about it. So he's not like super hot. It's just the last few things he's done has been fairly big wins. But he's not going to win like the big one. And I think that continues here, even though that's a story that I think he went into when he made that challenge. We'll see. But my money is on Kyle Fletcher. We did shock title change last pay-per-view. I don't think we're gonna do another one this soon. The reunited Jurassic Express, Jungle Jack Perry and Luchasaurus taking on the Young Bucks in a $500,000 cash prize tag team match. The winner gets $500K. It's a Jurassic Express. Because of the Bucks storyline of them being broke and them coming into some money and blowing it all. So I think it's Jurassic Express for the dub to continue that aspect of things, of them trying to get, some money, so to speak. There is a world, I guess, where they win it only to do the same thing again, some kind of way, or lose it some kind of way again. And it's kind of almost the bum ass Corbin story a little bit, where he, gets a little bit, gets taken away, gets a little bit, gets it taken away. So there could be some fun in that. How would they squander the 500K this time, right? So that could be done, but I'm pretty much giving it to Jurassic Express. They're newly reunited. They've had like one or two matches, one tag match, one 6-man. They teamed with Kenny on Dynamite to take on the Don Callis family, and they won. So I think they take this one as well. Bucks have kind of, well, no, Jurassic Express stood tall on Dynamite, but I think they take this one as well and the 500K from the Bucks. Moving right along. For the AEW Women's World Championship, we have Timeless Toni Storm versus the champion Chris Statlander. I like the build to this because it's literally just like Tony's doing great work. Tony's always great. It's bringing out something else in Stat that's really kind of proving herself as champion. And I like some of Stat's comebacks to Tony. It's this wonderfully weird style of promo that they both do with each other, and this weird chemistry that, again, you wouldn't see on a WWE show, and that's why I like it, because you wouldn't see it on a WWE show. It's not Tony's typical mind games and raunchy banter. It's like, no, you have my title, and I don't know who I am without the title, even though I have asked for this. Now that it's happened, I don't know what to do, and I don't know who I am. And that's a very interesting position for her to be in, right? So On the other hand, Stat's like, hey, the reason you're not ready for me is because I am constantly evolving. And by the time you figure me out, I've already evolved again. That is dope. And it's true. Stat has been in a constant state of evolution throughout her entire AEW run, from being an alien to just being a badass, to being the TBS champion, to being a heel, to almost being a Death Rider, to now being the world champion. Stat has been in a constant state of evolution since she's been in AEW. So that is 100% true. I think Stat gets the win here and proves, you know, um, to Toni Storm exactly who and what she is, and solidifies herself as champion. Toni Storm from here could probably team with Alex Windsor because you need star power in that tag team tournament, and I could absolutely see her in that tournament as well. So teaming with like an Alex Windsor or Amina Shirakawa, either one. I think Toni does go to that tag team tournament and win. Again, with this being the third women's match on the show, fourth if we're counting the pre-show, and a lot of the women in these matches being potential for the Blood and Guts match. Like I'm pretty sure Jamie Hayter gonna be in Blood and Guts because she's the one that suggested it. Tekla because she's the main one she challenged. Megan Man, Penelope Ford are obviously going to be on the heel side. Willow's going to be in there. I'm not sure about Harley. I don't think Stat and Toni are going to be in there, but maybe they will. Like I know Willow's there. Harley may or may not. Jamie Hayter's going to be there. Aminata's going to be in there. The other three women on the babyface side remain to be seen. So it could be Toni or Stat or Mina or Harley. I think there may be some combination of those four names, I think. Perhaps. Or maybe it's I don't know. Maybe it's Harley Aminata. I don't know. We'll see. Next up, and I think the order that I'm doing these three matches is probably the order it'll be in for a particular reason. Hangman Adam Page versus Samoa Joe for the World Championship. Tony Khan likes to put the AEW Championship on last, damn near no matter what. I do not think that'll be the case here. It was the case for All Out, and there was a case that there could have been something else to close for All Out, but maybe not. Right? There was a case that that Cope and Christian versus FTR could have been the main event for All Out, and they chose to open with it instead. Probably because of the whole WrestlePalooza thing, but maybe not. There's a case here that instead of this going on last, Hangman versus Samoa Joe, great match that it will be. What I think will be the main event, and I'll explain why, will be Darby and Mox. But we'll see. We'll see. Hangman and Joe is going to be a great match. Hangman gets the dub. We're not seeing it. I don't think there's going to be. I can't look at this card tonight and see any title changing hands. I don't think anybody's in any danger of titles changing hands tonight. Everybody's kind of in the midst of their title reign. I think if anybody's in danger, if there were a big enough free agent on the market to beat Mercedes, then it would make sense. But I don't think there's anybody. I don't think there's anybody in the company, and I don't think there's anybody on the market who is in the position to beat Mercedes for that title right now. So, Hangman's going to get the dub on Joe. It's going to be a great, hard-hitting match. Joe very rarely misses. Hangman almost very rarely misses. They're going to get in there. They're going to have great chemistry. They're going to go in there and beat the shit out of each other. And it's going to be a great match. a great match. But what I think is going to be the main event is going to be something else. Darby Allin versus Jon Moxley in an I Quit match. So, quick shout out, first of all, to the promo that they did, the face promo that they did on Dynamite / Collision Wednesday in the prison, the cinematography of it all, the way it was shot, the dialogue, the way the entire thing played out, top notch. Darby is really strange. He's like a, so 2020, 2021-ish, but definitely still in 2020. Obviously, because of COVID, was the rise of the cinematic match. A lot of people don't remember. Here's the thing. Darby Allin's like a film school kid. So there's a reason so much of his stuff has like that cinematic feel, because that's his thing. He went to film school, right? This was a part of that, right? So I mentioned 2020 in the cinematic match era. He had one. Him and Sting versus Team Taz at the time. And I'm pretty sure he probably had more than that. He has a bunch of stuff like that. If it's cinematic, Darby does most of the cinematic type stuff in AEW. Most of it. This is no exception. This promo was epic. A lot of people calling it one of the best promos of the year. I absolutely see why they would say that. Followed up by, so Pat comes in and attacks Darby at the end of the promo. At the end of Dynamite? Yeah, it was in the Dynamite. It wasn't the end of the whole show. It wasn't the end of Collision. At the end of Dynamite, you get Darby coming out and crawling basically to the ring as each one of the Death Riders beats him down. But he keeps getting up, keeps crawling to the ring, plants the AEW flag, and basically saying to Mox, not too late for you to say I quit. And that infuriates Mox, gives him the Death Rider in the ring, or Paradigm Shift, whichever one we're going to call it. So the story here is one of these two men has to say I quit. And both of them know that neither of them is going to say I quit. So what is going to happen? Listen, I'm not really that squeamish about a lot of stuff, but it's just stuff I don't like to see. I don't want to see. A lot of the ear stuff that's been happening in the ear is just cartilage. Just cartilage. Nothing's gonna happen. But I can't. I can't with them. I can't with Darby. I can't with Mox. I just refuse. I don't want to, and I don't want to. Why? Why? I know this match is going to be disgusting. The match was announced with Darby holding a flamethrower. Now, we've seen Darby set people on fire. He set Jack Perry on fire. Like what, last year? We've seen him set people on fire. That's not shocking, right? We've seen the stuff. We've seen him set Mox on fire. Not shocking. This match is going to be disgusting. And that is the only word that I can use to describe what I think is going to occur in St. Louis tonight. Disgust. And oddly enough, I'd much rather see it in person than see it on TV because camera angles make things that much worse. But I'm going to be watching it on TV, on my big TV. And I'm going to be cringing as I watch it. Cause right? Looking forward to it. But the idea of this feud has disgusted me. And the minute I knew it was coming, years ago, when I knew it was coming, like those two men, whenever they have teased going against each other, and as the feud itself escalates, it's like, oh, once we start getting into deathmatch territory with these two, it's going to be disgusting. Think of some of the things we've seen Darby do. And then think of some of the things we've seen Mox do. And put the stipulation in that one of them has to say I quit. And in the words I quit, is there's some matches, this particular setup to an I quit match isn't unique, isn't new. The way these matches usually are best sold is between two people who won't say that they quit. That's the thing. It's usually best sold when there are two people, neither one's going to say I quit, and there's your story. That's where we are. That's exactly where we are. Neither one of these men is going to say I quit. It works with, like, in Mick Foley matches, if you remember the one with The Rock where he had the voiceover playing and they did it that way. It's a matter of pride, right? Who's going to break them? But with these two people, it's not even pride. It's like I don't like there's nothing I think that you can do to either of them. It would damn near have to come down to like Darby threatening Renee. There's nothing they can physically do to each other, physically, that I think will make the other quit. Darby would damn near have to threaten to set Renee on fire, and that might be the finish. Because I'm giving Darby the win here. I think Darby wins. I think all logic points to it having to be Darby. Especially considering he lost the casket match. And typically, Mox has mostly had Darby's number in most of these matches. I don't know if Darby's ever beaten him at all, actually. Maybe once, but I'm not sure. So, I feel like this is the night Darby will win. It's the how he's going to win that is terrifying. And I believe it may come to that. It may not be Renee. That may be too close to heel. Fans might boo him for that. I don't know. But maybe Marina in place of? Or, I mean, that's all I can think of. It once it reaches violent apex, again, I don't think there's anything physical that will make Mox say the words I quit. Now, we've seen Mox tap because we know that if you wrap a chain around his neck and throw him over the top rope and hang him, he's going to tap ferociously. We've seen it twice. But saying the words I quit, I don't see Darby saying it at all. If of the two, I can see Mox saying it character wise before Darby. I can see it for the same reason. Like if we were taking the angle of there's nothing we can do to each other physically, so I have to do something psychologically to make you say I quit. I could see that. But I don't see anything where they beat each other till the other says I quit. This match will be violent. It will be disgusting. I will be watching like this. That's going to be me. Whole match. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the whole night. The card looks really strong. AEW does not miss on pay-per-view. So I'm looking forward to the entire show. Those are my picks, man. Those are my picks. I'm gonna run it down as I see it on Wikipedia after I covered it, just to make sure everything's succinct. Is the word we're gonna use here? Succinct. Jet Speed over FTR. Eddie Kingston the Hook for the win. Divine Humanity, Megan Bain and Penelope Ford. Oh, that was cross, right? The conglomeration will beat the Death Riders. Calling that. Darby Allin over Mox. Hangman Page over Joe. Stat over Titan Tony Storm. Luchasaurus to Jack Perry over Young Bucks. Kyle Fletcher over Mark Briscoe. Rodito over Don Callis family. Tekla over Jamie Hayter. Hurt Syndicate over The Demand. And Mercedes Momonet over whoever it is. Those are my picks for WrestleDream. There you have it. Thank you. Tuning in to the Black Phoenix. I'm sorry. The Black Phoenix Network. Yes. Thanks for tuning in to the Black Phoenix Network. Talking about wrestling right here. Once again, thank you for spending your time with me here. Could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Make sure, if you're not subscribed, if you're just randomly seeing this for whatever reason, go hit the subscribe button. I got it down there somewhere. Go hit the subscribe button. If you're listening on Spotify, because we're there now too. If you're listening on Spotify, make sure you leave us a review. If you can follow us there, follow us there. If you're watching on YouTube, get it right. Watching on YouTube, give me that thumbs up. Make sure you go subscribe on there. But also make sure you come back. You see the thing down there? Wait, come on. There we go. Bing. Okay. That right there. Not my nail. Boy, my name is. The Untouchable J.R. Atkins. BlackPhoenix.substack.com. Make sure you go there and subscribe there too, so that you'll be notified when these come out. Okay. We're getting comfortable. We're playing with the settings a little bit. Again, if you like this, we're in 4K this time. All right. It's 4K, 60 frames per second. I am live and in your face. You're getting all. You see, I probably shouldn't do that. Probably a booger. I feel like there is. Oh, it's gross. Anyway, make sure you tune in. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. I am going to start getting out and about. Not on wrestling. I'm coming for you, sucker. Memphis Wrestling, I'm coming for you, sucker. If you're a fan of Memphis Wrestling, tune in. If you're a fan of wrestling in general, tune in. If you're a fan of AEW, especially tune in, because I am that. Eventually, we're going to get a little more historic. I'll do some other kind of stuff. Once we expand, we'll do more. But for the time being, thanks for being here. Make sure you're tuned in to all the rest of the content here on the Black Phoenix Network. What's Up Wednesdays right now. Manifesto Mondays will return soon, but in the time being, go back and check out the rest of them. Manifesto Mondays, of course, is where I break down songs that I've created, music that I've done, and season 2 will be coming soon. Season 1 ended just a few weeks ago. I will make those available soon on Spotify and YouTube. Is the thing that I've been saying that I'm going to do with it. I will make those available there soon as well. For the time being, they're here on blackphoenix.substack.com. So go subscribe to check those out. What's Up Wednesdays exclusively here on Substack. My What's Up Wednesday articles have so far been one of the most well-trafficked pieces of content that I have done here on the Black Phoenix Network. Not so bad here, though. You guys don't think, only because I feel like this is spread between like 3 platforms now: Spotify, YouTube, and Substack. That there are 3 ways to catch it, so it's kind of hard to funnel everything into that. But What's Up Wednesdays is exclusive to the Black Phoenix Network here on Substack. So I can vividly see that is being well trafficked. This last one, I got a lot of good feedback, a lot of engagement. Remember, engagement is the key. Engagement is the key. I need your engagement. So that engagement was really good. Hopefully I can get that starting with this pay-per-view. So That being said, if you have other predictions, hey, you got just a few hours before I post this, before the show starts. What are your predictions for tonight? You heard mine. Who do you got? And what do you want to see? Because there's a lot. How bad do you think the Darby versus Mox match is going to be? And then after the show, if you're seeing this after the fact, give me your thoughts on the show. You know, I love your reaction because apparently next week, um, will be like 2 days before my birthday. Oddly enough, all gifts can be sent. DM me, okay? Because I may just leave the Cash App open next week. Cash App, if you want to donate, I'll do that. But we'll see. But if you're seeing this after the fact, how grossed out were you? What did you think of the pay-per-view? How right was I? How right were you? Let's see. It's a community, all right? I'm not just talking at you, I'm talking to you, and I want you to talk back to me. So, I do this every week. I just drone on and on and on and on instead of just getting out of here. Anywho, giving all the last rites. All that being said, thank you for tuning in once again to the Black Phoenix Network, talking about wrestling. I am your host, the untouchable J.R. Atkins, once again, and this is your primary destination for wrestling conversation. And as I always say every week, we are out.